I'm Nahid. Just personally, I come from Iran, but spent most of my life in UK and now live in Germany. So that's where I am geographically. Um, so I come from a cognitive neuroscience background. I always say I'm an academic by trade. So I did my PhD and then moved to Oxford for 12 years, where I had my own lab and research group and everything, working on cognitive health in aging. So from midlife to old age, developing better tools to assess cognition and identify who's, for example, at risk of neurodegenerative disorders and who's not earlier. So in midlife compared to old age. I then joined a health tech startup in Copenhagen as their chief of science, developing digital tools to support people with dementia. And since few months, I've left and started my own company, Cerebella. And what we're building is a digital platform to support women's brain health in midlife. So looking at the menopause transition as a not just as a hormonal transition, but as a neurological one, because the brains are significantly impacted and women do suffer a lot. So 80% suffer from brain fog or cognitive impairments, more than 50% from anxiety, mood volatility, sleep disturbances, and the consequences are a lot. So women leave the workforce, they take a lot of time off work. The suicide rates are the highest for a female, for a woman, is the highest in midlife because of the burden of this kind of transition time, neurological transition time. Um, and unfortunately, women are overprescribed medication, for example, antidepressants, even though they're not supposed to, because recommended by World Health Organization, or for example in the UK, NICE, that you shouldn't use, for example, antidepressants for women in midlife going through mood volatility. So all of this is what we are trying to address, and with our platform, we are developing one, a better assessment tool, how we assess cognitive and brain health in midlife with better and more sensitive tools, and also a non-drug intervention to improve cognition and mental health. And this is based on kind of two lines of research. So these non-drug interventions are evidence-based. We're clinically validating it as we're going through, and they're based on similar approaches that have been successful actually in the field of dementia. So for example, there's a non-drug intervention for dementia, World Health recommended, NICE recommended, implemented in 39 countries. And we're using the same approach now to develop these non-drug interventions for women in midlife. And the key is that they're not there to replace any medication. They're there, usually these non-drug interventions have synergistic effects. So if you take medication and non-drug interventions, you have actually better performance, and also offers an alternative for people who cannot, for example, take in HRT. They're women, if they had cancer, they cannot take HRTs. So this is an alternative. So the solution so addresses kind of mental health and cognitive health at the moment, but also we're hoping that it also is kind of preventative health. It can prevent a lot of later age health issues that women disproportionately experience. So, for example, 70% of people with Alzheimer's disease are women. And a lot of people have talked that this window, this kind of neurological transition state, is a window of opportunity to implement a lot of preventative health measures. So that's what we're building. We're a new company. And of course, I joined here because I want to be connected. The way we're building this company is to implement it within healthcare systems. So we do not want to sell to women. Yet another thing women have to pay for. What we're doing, for example, in the UK is going through trying to implement it within the NHS so that everyone is offered these things equitably. And so that's why I wanted to join, because it's the same in kind of across the world and in Europe, and there are national health systems in place. But of course, getting things implemented is tough, and you need policy as well as advocacy as well as all of this to kind of get something like this in the hands of people. So just being connected with people that can help and advise and guide, or and however I can support, of course, as well.